So that is very, very crucial. You have to repay that amount with interest. Can they be, see, you have exported the goods. Can the LUT be furnished after the date? No, it cannot be furnished after the date. You must have the LUT prior to export. So, see, sub-rule 1 is dealing with only export, but there is another sub-rule 6 which says all the provisions of this also applicable to your supply to SEZ. So, this LUT is not restricted only to the export of goods or services. It is equally applicable due to there is another sub-rule 6 for this purpose. So, taking into account, you have to furnish LUT prior to supplying goods to SEZ or export, because you mark the words in that sub-rule 1, they are specifically saying prior to export. So, this is very, very important. If you are not going to have LUT and then you export the goods, then the department will not allow you to export without payment. They may demand the tax from you. So from this point of view, the LUT should be applied at the beginning of the financial year. So LUT obtained at the beginning of the financial year will have validity throughout the financial year. You need not go again and again, sir, this month it is getting over. It need not be. So even from the first day, it will be having validity up to 31/3/2026. So that is this is a very, very simple form. You might have already obtained. It is RFD 11. Just if you upload it, then you will get acknowledgement. But this procedural requirement sometimes getting missed. So that only I thought, say, this is because, see, if a person is continuously exporting, they will be aware of this. Suppose a person is going to undertake the export for the first time, then this condition should be met. So this is very, very important. Yes. Actually, some of the informal requests came with regard to ISD, because ISD is a new concept, though it came in the earlier Finance Act itself. Not the Finance Act 2015-14, 2024 itself it came, but the applicability starts from 1/4/2025 only. So some of the regular participants requested me to deeply delve on this ISD registration, because this being a new procedure that has come into effect or has become mandatory. See, prior to that, there was an option. You need not distribute the ISD input services, but you can cross-charge. So that was an option, but that was done away with, and then it has become mandatory for having a ISD registration from 1/4/2025. So I will be going somewhat deep into this subject compared to the other topics or other issues or other areas that we are going to see. If there is more than one GST registration, ISD will come into operation. If you have got only one registration, whether within the state or more than within the one state, there is no need for ISD concept. I got only one registration in Tamil Nadu. I do not have any registration in any other state or another registration within the state. Within the state also, you can another registration. There is no more than one registration. You need not worry about the concept at all. So ISD concept will be applicable for a person who have got registration under the same PAN. So, yeah, see, I am a proprietor of a concern. I am a partner in another concern. That there is a registration. Then also this concept will not applicable, because the PAN for the individual and then PAN for the firm will be different. So in that concept also, registration will not be applicable. This ISD concept will not be applicable. So the ISD concept is the worry of the persons who are having more than one registration. It can be registration within the state or outside the state. So there is a definition for input service distributor. Section 261, clause 61 defines ISD, input service distributor. So important concept is as the name itself implies, input service distributor, this applies only for services, not for goods. ISD concept exclusive domain of the goods never comes into this is some of the basic concepts. So then what other thing? This ISD receives tax invoices for and on behalf of distinct persons referred to in section 25. Section 25, there is a distinct person. See, this distinct person is important from the point of view of taxation also. Because one of the important consideration is there should be consideration for taxing a supply. But if it is between distinct persons, then there need not be any consideration. Even without consideration, that supply will be taxable. So this is the basics of the distinct persons. Before going to see who is the distinct or who are the distinct persons. So he receives the invoice for and on behalf of the distinct persons. Then he is liable to distribute the ITC. He is liable to distribute the ITC as per section 20. So this is an important thing. So he is an input service distributor. Since this has come into effect from 1/4/2025, I am stressing this point. So if anyone, there should be a separate registration for ISD. That should be a separate registration for ISD. If you are not take the ISD register now, better to apply now and then get the registration so that it will become smooth in the future. As I mentioned earlier, that definition talks about the input service distributor and distinct person as per section 25. So what this section 25 about tells about this distinct person, or who are the distinct persons? There are two subsections dealing with this one, distinct persons. That is subsection 4 and then subsection 5. Both operate in a different tangent manner, but these are all the two subsections that are defines or says about the distinct persons. Stressing the point, PAN for the distinct persons are one and the same. Because PAN is the basic mandatory document, or the PAN is the basic thing that is required for getting a GST registration. But this is one and the same for the distinct persons. So what is 25 subsection 4? So he says about the person required to obtain more than one registration. See, more than one registration, if a person is required to take a registration, then both these registration are considered as a distinct persons. See, it can be within the same state or in more than one state. If a person is required to obtain more than one registration, now the question arises: in the situation a person is going to required to take more than one registration? First thing is SEZ. See, there is a important company is that ABC. Now they are going to set up a unit in a SEZ zone. So in that situation, a separate registration is required for a SEZ. See, for example, now here there is a KJASL SEZ is there. KJASL SEZ is there. Just opposite to that, there is another company is there. Now they are going to set up as one of the unit within the SEZ. Both will be considered as a distinct persons. Though they are with that thing, but they are mandated to take a separate registration. So these two entities will be considered as a distinct person. So, and if they have taken a registration, now there is no prohibition that the person should not have more than one registration. They can take one registration. For example, there is a entity is that they are dealing in automobiles and also they are dealing in a milk production. They can have a registration for the car dealing and then for the milk. So these, when they are taking the two registration, that is also considered as a distinct persons. So then 25. 5 is a required to take a registration and then they have got an establishment in another, another state. This is the important thing. Whereas 25 subsection 4 deals with the registration within a state or more than another state, but 25 deals only with the another state. Suppose you have got a head office here and manufacturing facility. These two will be considered as a distinct persons as per 25.5. So these 25.5. So this is the basic thing for ISD registration. Now, you have to get the registration. I'm not going into why it has become mandatory. Section 20 has been amended. Because of that, it has become mandatory. Now, I'm going to deal how we are going to allocate the ITC. How we are going to allocate the ITC. See, the only thing is the common ITC has to be allocated. The common ITC has to be allocated. Not all the ITC. Suppose if there is I have given a case of situated in Coimbatore and then it's at Mumbai and then Gujarat. So there are branches is that. If there is a service that is rendered in Mumbai only for Mumbai branch, then that should not come into the pool of the ISD. That need not come into the pool. So if there is a common service and then which is spread over to various entities or various branches under the same PAN, then only the concept of ISD will come into force. So this is attributable only to one recipient. So if the attributable to only one recipient, then it should be allocated to that recipient. So I have given an example. Head office is situated in branches in Mumbai. The company wants a person who knows Tamil Nadu to be appointed at a branch head, because so they give an advertisement in newspapers in Tamil Nadu. See, this is a requirement of Mumbai office. So if that advertisement company charges GST, that should be the company will be. The advertisement company will be giving invoice at Coimbatore, but it relates to Mumbai. It should be allocated only to Mumbai. So this is one of the basic criteria, how to allocate. More than one recipient, then it should be allocated to all the things. So on what basis is the turnover in the state in the preceding financial year? So this assumes very, very crucial thing in the situation. So you have to allocate on the basis of the turnover in each of the state during the financial year 24-25. Suppose there is a common advertisement in all the newspapers, common advertisement, and then it is accounted in Coimbatore, but it pertains to branches at Mumbai and Gujarat, then it has to be allocated on the basis of the turnover in those branches and head office put together in the earlier year. So preceding financial year is the basis on the basis of it, the ITC should be allocated for the ISD units. So the recipient, if there are more than one recipient or more than all the recipient, then it should be allocated to all the recipients. See, but once more than one registration, you cannot say, I do not have anything common expenses or common credit, that you cannot say. Why? Because the basic thing they will say is audit fees. Sir, audit fees relates to all the units. So auditor is giving opinion or he is certifying the document for all the branches together. So that should be allocated to those branches also. So in that situation, the audit fee has to be allocated. So we cannot say, I do not have any common credit, that is for all the things. See, this is one of the important amendment. See, for the RCM, that tax liability has to be paid first. Or tax liability has to be paid. Whenever you are registered as an ISD, there will be a separate portal and everything. In that portal, you cannot make the payment. So, for the reverse charge is also brought under the definition of input service distributor. So, now the question arises, how to pay the tax? Because you cannot make the payment of the tax in ISD. Though for making the payment, that is for making the late paid interest, not for the payment of the tax. Not for the payment of the tax. So naturally, what you have to do is you have to get that amount. You have to get that amount in the main registration. You have to make the payment reverse charge, and then you have to give a invoice to the ISD. From that ISD, the registration should take place. It should take place. So this is how the concept has been devised, because they brought in the reverse charge. For example, there is a IT advocate bill is coming. Advocate bill is coming, and then it is coming to head office, and then it relates to Mumbai and Gujarat branches. So naturally, head office will make the payment and the reverse charge, and then it is the distribution. It cannot be done directly. Now the question arises: what is the return to be filed by a ISD registered person? ISD registered person. The prescribed form is GSTR 6. GSTR 6 is the prescribed form. GSTR 6 is the prescribed form for distribution of the ISD input tax credit received by the ISD. So the ISD will get the invoices in its name, and it will make the distribution to the person or to the constituents or to the branches which are eligible for that credit. So that is the function of the ISD. What is the due date for filing the GSTR 6? So this is the time limits given in the section 39(4). It says it has to be filed within 13 days after the end of the such month. So for the April, you have to file on or before 13th May. But there is a instruction given in GSTR 6. It has to be filed only at 10th of the month. You cannot file on 2nd. You can file on after the 10th of the month before the 13th of the succeeding month. So GSTR 1, you can file in the next first day or second day of the month. But such an option is not that for the case of the GSTR 6. You can file it within the 10th to 13th only. So another important thing is the credit should be distributed eligible and ineligible. Eligible and ineligible credit. Okay. So this is very, very important. See, you are not while distributing, you do not give the HSN and everything. You just give the amount of credit. So will not be knowing, or the officers will not be knowing whether it is eligible credit or not. So they are casting a burden is cast on the ISD that they have to distribute the credit as eligible credit than ineligible credit. So this is very, very important. So these are all things from the ISD. ISD, some of the areas I have taken the separate session for ISD, but this has come into the force from 1/4/2025. I thought some of the highlight how it has to be done. Because particularly the reverse charge payment, how it has to be done, and then how it has to be distributed was a big question. Now they have given a separate provision, and then they say it has to be paid by the main registration, and then from that it has to be passed on to the ISD. Then the ISD should distribute the credit. It is a very, very round out, work and then cumbersome process, but we do not know any other alternative. We have to comply with the provisions. Then stock valuation from GST angle. What is the correlation between the stock? Because in income tax only, see, if you are going to increase the stock, the profitability inflate, or if you are going to decrease the stock, then the profitability will decrease. But what is the GST angle for the stock valuation? So this is one of the important areas that has to be looked into by every person who is engaged in a GST consultation or any person. What is the value that has to be very, very carefully considered? First, what is the stock value you are going to show? Convert that into the quantity. Whether the registered taxable person has got the sufficient space to store those items shown as a stock. It can be in the godown, or it can be in another premises, but it should have been shown in the registration certificate. Mind, that is very, very crucial, because some of the cases that they on the basis of the financial statements, the officer concluded. See, the office was there was only office was there. It was only 200 square feet, but the material shown will not be able to be stored in such a small area. So he cancelled the registration. So it will have a very, very catastrophic effect because of the cancellation. And also cancellation was done from a retrospective effect. So whenever the cancellation is done from the retrospective effect, your suppliers has to forego their ITC, and also you will be denied your ITC. So there will be a big effect because of this stock valuation. See, particularly in the case of scrap, the department views the scrap transaction with suspicion. They think everything is a bogus. So in case of a scrap dealer, he was having an office, he was telling, I act as a broker immediately. Whenever lorry comes on the movement itself, I sell the goods. I need not. But officer was not willing to undertake this type of explanation. And the stock shown by you is false. And then you do not have any sufficient place to stock those items. And then he cancel this registration. So stock valuation, consider your area of operation also. Sir, I got another registration, another place, sir, where I was told that and all explanation that officer will not be willing to take because he will be concerned only with the places registered as the principal place or additional place of business, registration certificate. So this is very, very important to ascertain the stock value. And then another important aspect from which the stock valuation is very, very crucial is at the time of inspection. Sometimes the officers come to their premises unannounced. In Tamil, they used to say Alaya Virundali. So that is a guest who comes without any invitation. So there will not be any advance information that they are going to come. Suddenly there will be a surprise verification in your premises. There is a provisions are there, and then section 67 is that it enables the conducting such a inspection. So in that inspection, the officers will arrive at the stock value as per your records, as per not your records means as per the documents. And then they will compare with the physical stock. If there is any discrepancy, you will be asked to make the payment of tax. For example, it can be by either way. It can be if the stock value is more also, they will levy penalty, and if there is a lesser stock also, they will ask for the tax. So this is the correct stock value. So for example, there is the inspection is coming in the month of say August. So if there is a audited financial statements on 31/3/25, so they will be taking that opening stock as the basis, and that they will add the purchases. Then they will reduce the sales after reducing the gross profit. So they will arrive at the cost of the goods sold. So they will arrive at the notional or estimated stock value as per your records. Then they will compare it with the physical stock. If there is any difference, for the difference, you will be asked to pay the tax. So this is very, very important. So for this purpose, the stock ascertainment on 31/3/2025 becomes very, very crucial. Very, very crucial. Then debt stock. Debt stock, it is a very, very important issue. So do not write off the obsolete stock. Do not write off the obsolete stock, but write down the obsolete stock. So there is a difference between write off and then write down. So what is write off? I have given an example. There is an inventory, 1 lakh cost of purchase. It has become obsolete. You cannot use it. That type of raw material, assume it is a raw material. That raw material, you will not be using it. You will not be using it in the near future, maybe 5 years, because the model for which you purchased this raw material has changed, and then you will not be having any utility for that. So if you are making that value as 0, it is written off. But the 1 lakh stock is valued at ₹1, it is written down. It is written down. My advice is, do not write off the stock, but you write down the stock. Even you take it as a 1 paise, that doesn't matter, but don't write off the stock. Why? This is due to the concept of block credit. So there is a section, you will be aware of that, section 17.5 deals with the block credits. So the items specified therein are not eligible for ITC, that are not eligible for ITC. In that, there is a class H which denies ITC for the goods lost, destroyed. There is a highlighted written off. So when you write off the stock, then naturally you have to reverse the ITC. But when you write down, there is no need to reverse the ITC. So this is very crucial difference between written off and then write down in the value. I advise you to write down value, but do not write off the inventory as zero. So in that situation, you have to assign the purchase cost, and then on that, for the purchase, what is ITC that you have taken, that ITC has to be reversed by you. So to avoid such a situation, do not write off the stock, write down the stock value. This is one of the things. Creditors aging as on 31/3/2025. Now itself you check. What is the periodicity of the creditors? Because now you might have most of the thing, whenever they come for inspection, they say, what is the creditors as on the date? Suppose creditors is 2 crores. Sir, for the 2 crores, you pay the tax. Or you reverse the ITC 2 crores amount. Why? What is the reason for that? If the recipient, that is recipient is the person who buys the goods or avails the services, and then on the goods or services who has taken the ITC, he is the recipient. If he does not pay amount to the supplier within 180 days with the invoice amount, and then he has to reverse the ITC. So within 180 days, the payment should be made to the supplier. So who is the supplier? From whom you have purchased goods or services, and then it is shown under the head Sunday creditors. And then if you do not make the payment within 180 days, then that amount has to be reversed. That ITC on the goods purchased or services provided by them has to be reversed. This is important criteria. And also the 180 days starts from the date of invoice, not from the date when which you receive the goods or not. So that is also immaterial. From the date of the invoice, you have to make the payment within a period of 180 days, failing which you have to reverse the ITC. So for this purpose, you have to have the clear details of the age-wise Sunday creditors. So suppose there is a balance of say 10 lakhs in case in the name of ABC and Co. So you have this amount 10 lakhs relates to what are the invoices. This should be relating to the period less than 180 days. If it is more than 180 days, then the department will ask you to reverse ITC and then pay the interest for the same from the date you avail the ITC. So this is very, very important. You have to analyze the Sunday creditors. This is because of the second provision to section 16.2. Then two-factor authentication for e-way bill. Already that has started. Two-factor authentication for e-way bill has started. What is this two-factor authentication? Now, you will know that for taking the e-way bill, only you will have a user ID and then password. User ID and password. Now, this two-factor authentication, in addition to the password, a OTP will be set to the registered mail ID. So, this is two-factor authentication. So, one is the password. The second authentication is the OTP. So, these type of two-factor authentication has come into force for e-way bill and also for e-invoice. So for both these aspects, you must have a two-factor authentication. Every sub-user, see there will be a situation, there will be sub-users. These sub-users also should have a two-factor authentication. See, for example, in big corporates and all, there will be allocation will be for 2 or 3 persons to generate e-way bill. So these persons should be registered as a sub-user, and then they will be, for them also this two-factor authentication is required. For medium-sized concern, my advice is to have one more sub-user. one more sub-user. Because usually till now, that will be only one person, and then he will be handling with user ID and then password, he will be taking the e-way bill. But in future, if there is going to be a two-factor authentication. If that only one person, his mobile is registered, and then he is going to get the number, so he goes on leave. He goes on leave for some emergency, then he goes away. At that time, another person cannot take the e-way bill without his OTP. So he will be in somewhere in emergency situation, or he is in a vacation. So at that time, you have to call and get the OTP for taking the e-way bill or e-invoice. To avoid that situation, suppose if because this is applicable only for small concerns, I'm telling, not for the big corporate, they have got alternative ways of generating. So small concern, if the two-factor authentication mobile number is given only for the accountant, then or the who is a salesman, you have it one for the managing partner or proprietor, so that in case of emergency, through his user ID and password, the e-way bill and or e-invoice can be generated under this two-factor authentication system that has come into effect from 1/4/2025. So this is one of the important thing. Rectification petition. See, section 16 input tax credit, and then in that there is a subsection 4. It stipulates the time limit for taking the ITC. It stipulates the time limit for taking the ITC. It stipulates that ITC for a financial year should be claimed on or before 30th of the November following the end of the year. But earlier that was the due date for furnishing the return under section 39 for the month of September. So earlier that referred to due date for furnishing the section 39 refers to GST 3B. So what is the due date for furnishing GST 3B? Up to that time you can take the credit. So there is a slight relaxation. So up to the 30th for the month you will be filing in October. So October 20th you will be filing. Now that has been extended by another 50 days up to November. So this is an extension. In the initial period, these things were missed. These taking the time limits were missed, but it was taken for in some other date after the end of the period. So to provide some relaxation, a new subsection 5, 16 subsection 5 was introduced. This relaxation is applicable for the initial period of 4 years only. So initial period applicable 4 years only. So he can take the input tax credit provided it has been claimed within a period of 30th November. So for the financial year 2018-19, so it should have been taken by 30th October. 25th October it should have been taken. 25th October. Instead of that, they are taken in December. So in that situation, you can claim the ITC as per this new provision. Claim the ITC. How to claim? There they have given a notification dated 8/10/2024. 8/10/2024, a notification has been given. So for this, see, once you have paid the tax, you cannot get the amount back. Suppose you are agitated and then you are in the appeal, and the appeal, sir, I do not agree with that, so I am going to file an appeal. If that appeal is pending, you can get the favorable order by filing a rectification petition. This notification gave a limit of 6 months for filing the rectification. Suppose, see, the adjudicating officer has denied you ITC. You did not accept. No, sir, I have got the right. So you agitated the matter to the commissioner. Commissioner appeals. If it is there, then you can file a rectification petition. So for that purpose, 6 months time was given. So 8/10/2024, the 6 month time getting lapsed in a few more days, 7th April 2025. So anyone is having a applicability of section 16(5), they can make an application before 7th April, on or before 7th April 2025 to claim the benefit of provisions of section 16 subsection 5. So the next one is have a trade discount policy. Have a trade discount. See, for boosting the sales, that different types of discounts are given. So these schemes should be put in place. These schemes should be put in place or devised at the beginning of the financial year itself. Why? See, discounts given after the supply is called post-sale discount or post-supply discount. Post-sales discount value cannot be considered for the purpose of valuation, or you can reduce your value of the taxable supply to the extent of discounts given subsequently. See, for example, you are giving a discount in the month of, say, December. That can be reduced from the taxable supply made during the December. So this is very, very important. But the post-sale supply discount can be adjusted or will not form the value of the supply only if it is established in terms of an agreement entered into or before the time of supply. So if you are going to say we will be giving a supply discount if you are able to sell 100 units within such and such period. So in that situation, there should be an agreement prior to that supply. For this purpose, have a clear trade discount policy so that you are able to adjust the discounts by the way of credit note in the supplies affected during the month in which the credit notes are given. So this is very, very important. Then ITC 04 for job work. This is an important area that has been omitted. See, every person, because Coimbatore is an area where everything is given for job work. Every person who is sending the goods for job work has to file a document called, it is not written, document called ITC 04. So what is the content of ITC 04? See, when the material was sent by you, when did you got it back? After the job work. So suppose you are sending it one to another, and then when you are getting it back. So because the goods sent or input sent for the job work should be returned within a period of 1 year. To ensure that it has been returned within a period of 1 year only, this ITC 04 form has been evolved. So most of the time we find this document is not filed. Okay. So now the question arises, when did we file this? When the periodicity of the document depends upon your aggregate turnover during the preceding financial year. For example, now we are going to file this ITC 04 for 24-25. Then it depends upon your turnover for 23-24. So if your aggregate turnover is more than 5 crores, it has to be filed half yearly. If it is less than 4 crores, it has to be filed in a yearly manner. Once in a year, if we file for less than 5 crores, it is enough. What is the due date for filing? See, half yearly and annual, both are, because the financial year over, even if it is less than 1 crore, annual it will be coming. If it is more than 5 crores, then it will come as a second half disclosures for goods sent for. So now itself you take the steps for filing this ITC 04. ITC 04 has to be filed before 25th April of 2025. So this is one of the year beginning burden you have to comply with, or there is one of the compliance required for this purpose. But there is no late fee for ITC 04 as of now, but the general penalty of 25,000 GST plus 25,000 SGST can be levied. So there is a short time for filing this ITC 04. So take the steps for filing the ITC 04 for the consent for which you have sent the goods on job work basis. This will applicable only for the goods sent on job work basis, not for other cases. Electronic credit reversal and then reclaim statement. So this is one of the statement we find there are lot of lacuna. There is a lot of lacuna because the way in which the ITC GST 3B is going to be fed, in which the ITC 3B is filled, has gone a drastic change from July 22 to 2022. They have introduced the changes into 2022, but the effect came from August 2022 returns. So, what are the important changes here is that you have to take the ITC as per GST 2B, and then you have to bifurcate them into eligible ITC, then permanent reversal, and then temporary reversal. Temporary reversal, you have to reverse. So for this purpose only, this electronic credit reversal and reclaim statement has to come into force. What is your amount that remains as a unclaimed? So the government wants to know what is the amount that remains is unclaimed. So the figures for this statement come from the proper filling of your GST 3B. GST 3B. So you have to show 4B2. 4B2. So you know only the amount shown in 4C comes into the electronic credit ledger. For that, the 4B2, it is where you have to show temporary reversal. See, the temporary reversal may be due to non-receipt of the goods. One of the conditions stipulated in the under section 16(2) is that you should have received the goods or services. Sometimes they might have invoiced at the 30th. You will be getting the goods after the month only. So you cannot take the credit that month. You have to defer it to the next month till you get the goods. So this is only a temporary reversal. So temporary reversal, you are reducing it from the in 4B2. Now you want to reclaim it. You want to reclaim it. So that has to be shown. Again, when you reclaim, you will be adding it to the all other ITC 4A5, and then it should be reported in 4D1. So any amount reclaimed should be reported in 4D1. Then only the ITC that was taken from 4B2 will get reduced by the amount that you are showing in 4D1. This is not shown. Most of the cases we find accumulated balance in electronic credit reversal and reclaim statement, because persons are very much concerned about amount in the cash ledger or electronic credit ledger. They miss the amount in the electronic credit reversal and then reclaim statement. So they miss the statement, and that amount gets accumulated due to the non-mentioning of the amount in 4D1. So this is the thing. So for this purpose, now have an eye on what is the amount lying in electronic credit reversal and reclaim statement. So this is very, very important aspect, because we find there is a huge accumulated balance due to not properly filling the GST 3B. Say, department finds fault with you from your own data only. Most of you got the notice called IIT notice. That is, Tamil Nadu government has availed the services of the IIT Hyderabad. So IIT Hyderabad. So compares the various details provided by you in GST 3B, GST 9. There is a mismatch between that column in that area. In that cell, there is a mismatch is there. You have reported one thing in 8C, in 9, GST 9, but you are not adjusted in the subsequent year. All those mismatches are finding only due to our mistake in filling the data. So from our own data, they find fault with us. So it is our mistake. So we have to get our mistakes rectified, at least from this financial year. So how to do that? First, let us start with the GST 2B reconciliation. So this is one of the major area for notice. So they take the table 8A of GST 9, and then they say, compared to table 8A, you have taken more credit. So this is one of the charges given by the department every time. given by the every time. So what we do at the end of the year, at the time of filing the GSTR 9, we try to reconcile the thing, because that time only this will get populated. GSTR 80 will get populated. So you will be trying to reconcile. Instead of that, now itself, what is the amount that is getting populated in GSTR 2B? And then you have a proper reconciliation. What is the amount available by you in your GSTR 3B? So there will not be any mismatch or excess claim of ITC, or this allegation of excess claim of ITC will not come in future. And also, this will make the preparation of annual return very easy. So because this is a time you will be somewhat having the time to look into this data as compared to the December when you are forced to file the GSTR 9. So instead of sitting and then pondering over GSTR 9, now itself how it will affect the GSTR 9, and then now itself will take the steps. These type of notices will come, this notice will get reduced. Because we have heard nearly 6 years or 7 years have gone. With this experience, surely we will be able to get away with this type of mistakes. These IIT notices are nothing but only because of the not filling. But thankfully, the department is accepting our plea, and then they are dropping the demand mostly based on the IIT notice, except in case of some exceptional situation. So fill up the thing carefully. So these are all some of the things that I thought I shall bring you to or share my thoughts regarding the financial year starting, and then how to proceed with the financial year. Sorry, there was a small delay as the system was not opening properly. That was a delay in the initial stages. And then thanks for all your patience in that initial hiccups. And then with that, we thank all of you for your participation. Now let us go into the question and answer session that you are raised in the chat box. Thanking you. Thanks one and all for your continuous support to our syntax talks. Thank you. Questions. Some of the questions. If auditor issued bills separate for each branch, so if the auditor bills, see how an auditor will be able to give a invoice for branch, each branch. So that is very, very difficult for auditor as a statutory auditors. Suppose there is an internal auditor, we can say this is a thing. So then we can do that. Then we say stock in trade or in vehicles are related to closed stock. Yeah. See, this is a thing. Can we say stock in transit or in vehicles, sir? See, you can say that, see, it was a stock in transit, but you have to prove that. So that is a thing. So when that stock was there, when the movement started, and these things you have to prove, because now there is a e-way bill system. When that e-way bill was taken, so these are all the items that are in stock in transit. So if, from that angle, then you can say, so you can say like this also. Already accept the demand, paying for it, you cannot get the refund, sir. You cannot claim the refund. We can share. Yeah, mandatory, no. It is not mandatory. I am already explained in the initial stages. It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory. Sir, do ISD applicable for the same PAN in the same state? Yes, ISD is applicable for the same state in the same PAN also. See, only one is enough, and then if you are able to get the ISD certificate, then it will be enough, sir. See, that is what one of the few invoices may be 100% one registration in such a case. In such a case, if you are not able to get the invoices in that same number, then you have to go through the ISD routes only. ISD routes. Thank you, one and all. So, if at all further queries are there, kindly send it to our mail ID. We'll be able to get back to you. Thanking you.